ಬಣ್ಣ ಹಾಕಿ ರಾಜ್ಯಾದ್ಯಂತ
May I request all of you to please be seated? Thank you. Welcome you all to day 2 of Umagine Tamil Nadu 2025, where we inform, inspire, and innovate. Accelerating Tamil Nadu's tech progression is not just a theme. It's a reinforcement for tech organizations to pay attention to Tamil Nadu's thriving ecosystem. At Umagine Tamil Nadu, we are committed to propelling growth through the adoption of compelling strategies for startup, harnessing the power of emerging technologies for productivity, fostering innovation for e-governance, and leveraging geomatics for sustainability. Umagine Tamil Nadu stands as an evolving platform propelling Tamil Nadu towards its trillion-dollar dream. Thank you for joining us in shaping the future of technology, entrepreneurship, and talent mobility, contributing to the global wave of innovation. Today, we begin with a panel discussion on cities, suburbs, and satellite towns as engines of growth, how technology is enabling and accelerating the economies. First, I would like to call upon our first panelist for today, Mr. Ravanan N., Executive Director at Daily Hunt, CEO, Oneindia. Can we all give a huge round of applause as we welcome him on the stage, please? An astute thought leader with 23 years of experience in managing teams across content, sales and business development, product development, and operation management across leading telecom operations in India, experience in having excelled in startup conditions and successfully scaling businesses from scratch, now heading content across the portfolio for India's largest vernacular platform and building the go-to content destination for Bharat. We welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Naveen Chandra, founder and CEO, 91 Film Studios. Please give a huge round of applause as we welcome him on the stage. He has over 30 years of leadership experience across films, TV, radio, print, and digital media in India and internationally. His studio focuses on producing, marketing, and distributing regional language feature films. Previously, he launched the Storyteller Funds, a SEBI registered AIF providing structured capital to the regional film industry. Naveen has produced and distributed films in various Indian languages and helped build renowned brands like Times of India, Radio Mirchi, and Ghana.com. We welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to call upon a moderator and speaker for today, Mr. Ish Sundaram, founder, CEO, Utpata Ventures. Can we all put our hands together and welcome him on the stage, please? Ish is the founder and CEO of Utpata Ventures, an early-stage venture fund and operating executive at Taival Capital, a private equity firm focused on industrial and technology portfolios. He served as the Executive Vice President and Chief Digital and Technology Officer of JetBlue Airways Corporation from 2012 until his retirement in February 2021. He was a founder of JetBlue Technology Ventures and served as a director on multiple public and private companies, including SolarWinds, Intelsat, and Vesco International. We welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome Ms. Gayatri Tyagarajan, CEO of Kinhood Technologies. Gayatri Tyagarajan, CEO of Kinhood Technologies and founder.
ರಾಜ್ಯ ರಾಜಕೀಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ನಲ್ಲೂ ಬಣ ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇತ್ತ ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಬಣ ರಾಜಕೀಯಕ್ಕೇನು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಯತ್ನಾಳ್ ಟೀಮ್ ನಡುವೆ ಈಗ ರಾಜ್ಯಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಪೈಪೋಟಿ, ತೆರೆಮರೆಯ ಕಸರತ್ತು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದ್ ವೇಳೆ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಬಿಜೆಪಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆದ್ರೆ ಹಾಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಬಿವೈ ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆ ಮಾಡುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸಚಿವರು ಒಲವು ತೋರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸಚಿವರಾದ ವಿ ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಹಾಗೆ ಶೋಭಾ ಕರಂದ್ಲಾಜೆ ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಆಪ್ತರ ಬಳಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಆಸೆಯನ್ನ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಮೂಲಗಳು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇವೆ. ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಚಿವರಾಗಿದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ರಾಜ್ಯ ರಾಜಕಾರಣದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಹೊಂದಿರೋ ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಹಾಗೆ ಶೋಭಾ ಕರಂದ್ಲಾಜೆ ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲೋ ಬದಲು ತಮ್ಮನ್ನ ರಾಜ್ಯಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ವರಿಷ್ಠರಿಗೆ ದುಂಬಾಲು ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ದಾರಂತೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಸದ್ಯದ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆಯೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ತೀರಾ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ರೂ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನದ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಇಬ್ಬರೂ ಸಚಿವರು ಕಣ್ಣಿಟ್ಟಿರೋದು ಗುಟ್ಟಾಗೇನು ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ಅವರನ್ನ ವಿರೋಧ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಯತ್ನಾಳ್ ಬಣ ಶೋಭಾ ಇಲ್ಲವೇ ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಅವರನ್ನ ಕಣಕ್ಕಿಳಿಸೋ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಚಿಂತನೆ ನಡೆಸಿದೆ. ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆದಿದ್ದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ಬಹುತೇಕ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು, ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು, ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಗಳು ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ಬಣಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಷ್ಠರಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆಯೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಾನೂ ಹೇಳಬಹುದು. ಒಂದ್ ವೇಳೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆದಿದ್ದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಪೂರ್ವ ಸಿದ್ದತೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಜಿ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನದಿಂದ ತಮ್ಮ ಪುತ್ರನಿಗೆ ಹಿನ್ನಡೆ ಆಗಬಾರದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಆಪ್ತರ ಬಳಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಒಂದು ಸುತ್ತಿನ ಚರ್ಚೆಯನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ನಡೆಸಿದಾರಂತೆ. ರಾಜ್ಯ ರಾಜಕಾರಣದ ಮೇಲೆ ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಹಾಗೂ ಶೋಭಾ ಕಣ್ಣಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೂ ಪ್ರಧಾನಿ ನರೇಂದ್ರ ಮೋದಿ ಈ ಇಬ್ಬರನ್ನೂ ಸಂಪುಟದಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಿಡೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಸಚಿವ ಸಂಪುಟ ವಿಸ್ತರಣೆಯಾಗುವ ರಾಜ್ಯ ರಾಜಕೀಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ನಲ್ಲೂ ಬಣ ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇತ್ತ ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಬಣ ರಾಜಕೀಯಕ್ಕೇನು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಯತ್ನಾಳ್ ಟೀಮ್ ನಡುವೆ ಈಗ ರಾಜ್ಯಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಪೈಪೋಟಿ, ತೆರೆಮರೆಯ ಕಸರತ್ತು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದ್ ವೇಳೆ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಬಿಜೆಪಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆದ್ರೆ ಹಾಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಬಿವೈ ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸಚಿವರು ಒಲವು ತೋರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸಚಿವರಾದ ವಿ ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಹಾಗೆ ಶೋಭಾ ಕರಂದ್ಲಾಜೆ ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಆಪ್ತರ ಬಳಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಆಸೆಯನ್ನ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಮೂಲಗಳು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇವೆ. ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಚಿವರಾಗಿದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ರಾಜ್ಯ ರಾಜಕಾರಣದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಹೊಂದಿರೋ ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಹಾಗೆ ಶೋಭಾ ಕರಂದ್ಲಾಜೆ ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲೋ ಬದಲು ತಮ್ಮನ್ನ ರಾಜ್ಯಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ವರಿಷ್ಠರಿಗೆ ದುಂಬಾಲು ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ದಾರಂತೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಸದ್ಯದ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆಯೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ತೀರಾ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ರೂ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನದ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಇಬ್ಬರೂ ಸಚಿವರು ಕಣ್ಣಿಟ್ಟಿರೋದು ಗುಟ್ಟಾಗೇನು ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ಅವರನ್ನ ವಿರೋಧ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಯತ್ನಾಳ್ ಬಣ ಶೋಭಾ ಇಲ್ಲವೇ ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಅವರನ್ನ ಕಣಕ್ಕಿಳಿಸೋ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಚಿಂತನೆ ನಡೆಸಿದೆ. ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆದಿದ್ದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ಬಹುತೇಕ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು, ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು, ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಗಳು ವಿಜಯೇಂದ್ರ ಬಣಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಷ್ಠರಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆಯೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಾನೂ ಹೇಳಬಹುದು. ಒಂದ್ ವೇಳೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೆದಿದ್ದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಪೂರ್ವ ಸಿದ್ದತೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೂಡ
I come from a very small town called Tuticorin. How many of you know Tuticorin? Gayatri, I know you come from Madurai, and Viveka, you come from Madurai, and we all come from small towns, right? We're not like the big city people, like speaking fancy English and going to Don Bosco and stuff like that. We grew up in small towns, but something helped us to be where we are today and open the doors for us. But so here, can you raise your hand here? You guys have to talk to them. They're one of the best, team I have spoken to. Very inspiring what they do. Viveka, you come from Singapore, my dream city. I always say the safest place on the planet is Singapore. Now Dubai is claiming a little bit of Singapore's fame. What have you learned from Singapore? The good and bad of Singapore, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, you interact with them, you inspire them, you work with them. What have you learned that you can bring back to India? And how do you see the relationship between your work in Singapore and India to kind of help us leap forward to the next chapter?
Yeah, thanks, Ish. That's a very good question. I think one thing that we should definitely draw parallels with regards to Singapore is seeding entrepreneurship from a very early stage. From school children to universities, hackathons, innovation. I think a lot of you are here also that you participated in the hackathon. And also, it becomes a way of life, and government is also doing a lot of incentivization to this idea, and then what happens to the idea? You come up with some prototypes, and then what happens to the prototype? Nobody cares about it, right? And we as accelerators and incubators work with the universities, work with the students, and then try to productize it and bring it to the market. And I think with regards to what Kinhood is also doing, connecting directly with the students, that's where Gen Z, that's where the ideas are, and I think we all are enablers to make their idea into something, a product, So that's something that Singapore is doing, and I am very proud to say and see that Tamil Nadu government is also doing that. We are almost there. It's just that we are kind of on par, so we just need to walk hand in hand and take it to the next level, yeah.
Right. To the right of me is two of our top media professionals. The first thing that comes to my mind is Tirukkural. I love Tirukkural. I spend at least a little bit of time learning. And there is a Tirukkural which says, Epporul yarvai kepinum, apporul meiporul kanbadu arivu, which is very powerful. There's a lot of stuff in the media, right? And you need to make sure that it's accurate. It's your responsibility to take what is available and you make it accurate. But the world of media has changed from throwing stuff to everyone to making it personalized. Ravnan, I would love to hear from you as how do you, the data availability is, billions of times better than what it was. And there is with AI and X and all these things, like there's so much stuff around you today. How do you guys see that data and how do you distill that to make what is more relevant for the Ish and the Gayatri? Because I have like 10 seconds to read something, right? And now if you think about the local communities and all those things, it's not like the front page matters to them. It's that specific information that matters to them is what is relevant. How do you see the world moving with technology and the local communities?
It's interesting you brought this question because the very rockbed of Daily Hunt, the mobile aggregation app, is how do we leverage technology and personalize content, right? And personalization is not an easy task. I wouldn't say it's been solved till now, but it's a journey, right? And like Gayatri was mentioning, she looks at a lot of data, right? In India, especially in this current context, there are two schools of thought. One are apps which take a lot of information from you, and the other are all apps that infer a lot of information from what you do, right? So there's explicit personalization and implicit personalization, right? So explicit is what you do in Facebook. Facebook technically knows who you are, who your cousins are, who's your brother, what's your brother doing. So it's a lot more easy for platforms like Facebook, Google. They'll know a lot more information about you, so they're able to info better. And personalization is generally the ability to predict what you are more likely to consume. And that comes from a lot of signals and data that you give, right? We belong to the school that doesn't take any login information, right? So the social apps build what you call as a social profile of an organization, of a person or an organization. What apps like ours do is we build what we call as a content profile. They're two different, I would say, ends of spectrum, right? Given this whole concern of privacy, I think we like to stick to the whole content profile. So what we do is we know a little bit of who you are based on what mobile device you use, which campaign you're responding to, which language you speak, which location you come. And from this, we go about a journey of trying to know a lot more about you with only from the signals that you give on the content you consume. Right? It's slightly more convoluted problem to solve, but I think we've been doing that fairly well. And then you throw in another dimension of language, which kind of complicates it more. But having said that, I think today, personalization leads to probably 4 or 5x more engagement on content than any other platform. Gone are the days when you have a chronological feed of content where you could just consume what they think you should consume, right? And today, most apps, every home screen of the app is very different from everybody. The person sitting next to you sees something else, and what I see is very different, right? So, while the problem has thrown up a lot of challenges, and especially with a market like India where there are multiple languages, right? Multiple contexts, multiple nuances. But I think we are all on part of the journey. I think Kin also is trying to solve that problem in some way. But we should get there at some point of time. But personalization is the key because it provides you more context to what you're more likely to consume.
That's wonderful. I sincerely believe a lot of disconnect between the metro cities and township. Today, the gap that existed with with information sharing is now pretty much filled with social media and other ways of communicating. So you don't feel that you're left out in a small town today, right? Naveen, I know you spent 2 decades of your life in media and entertainment. Now you're an entrepreneur, investor. What has changed in your life from being a media guy, Times of India, to becoming who you are today? And how do you see your investment profile change these townships that you want to work with, the smaller towns and the medium-sized cities? Where do you see that growth for you?
Thanks, Isha. That's a good question. Thanks, Gayatri, for having me here. I think one of the first realities of modern society is that all of us are migrants, right? On this panel, Ish comes from New York. New York is a migrant city. I come from Bombay. Bombay is a migrant city, right? Gayatri is in Chennai. It's a migrant city. She's in Singapore. She's not from Singapore. She's a migrant to Singapore and so on and so forth. So I think what essentially is all of us are living a migrant life, right? We don't belong to our hometowns. There's a beautiful Tamil film that released last year called Maya Zagan. How many of you have seen it? Okay, so this is a wonderful film. You should see it. It's about a lost childhood. It's about migration to a new city and forgetting your roots. Arvind Swamy and Karthik do a terrific job. Very, very nice, small, easy to consume film. And it tells you what it really means to leave home and to go to a new city and what it means to come back to the city and feel belonging, that this is where I belong, right? It's a wonderful film. I think you should all watch it if you've not seen it already. And I think in my media journey, I have, I have launched various brands. I mean, Radio Mirchi was one. And when I was launching Radio Mirchi, I remember we started in towns like Patna, right? So those of you who know media, Patna used to be under TAM called Media Dark, right? There was no media when we launched Radio Mirchi in 2005 in Patna. So Patna was not measured in Nielsen and TAM ratings. Patna was not on the map. Once we started launching Radio Mirchi, we started getting small local advertisers. The Panwala, the tailor shop, the second-hand bookstore who passes, the IAS books down to the next, etc. Those were the advertisers on radio. First time in their life, they had actually created a ad and they came on. So we sort of brought them on board and so on and so forth. So when I started looking at my journey as an entrepreneur, I first looked at regional cinema. I said I have to do regional cinema because regional cinema is where India is, right? I call it Mitti Ka Khushbu. In the sense, the real stories come from, back in the regional markets. I don't work in the Hindi market. I don't work in the English market. I work in that. Because I believe every migrant story, every story of human movement, every story of urban story is a story of home, is a story of going back home. And that cultural roots is what we're losing in some manner. And that is what, if you can get, that's a great thing. That sense of community is difficult in an urban environment. And so any effort at building that, I think will be great. So my inclination is towards that. And when I heard of Kin, I think Kin is trying to do that, right? Build communities, remind you of your roots, remind you of your people back home, and try to connect with local neighborhoods. So all of us, when we stay in Bombay, I've been in Bombay 20 years now, but there are still parts of Bombay I don't know. And I think it'll be great to sort of know what is happening in Bombay. And I think in the new era, the more you go forward with AI and with technology, the more you want to connect back to your roots. I think that's becoming very, very evident, right? So that's That's where I'm sort of focusing on. So I do regional cinema. I produce and fund and invest and market and distribute regional films in 10 Indian languages. And I want to look at stories that come from those places and how, what I call mitti ka khushbu, which is smell of the soil, is what moves me, right? That's my journey.
Would love to see a movie on Tuticorin.
Yeah, sure.
It's been a while since Chingam was released, so would love to see another movie.
I just want to actually add a point to what Naveen just said. So this is something that I normally tell people, like when I go and when they ask me, like, why did you do kin? So in the 90s, like there was a lot of desire for people to actually understand what's happening in the Western world. So you wanted to know about who's the singer in New York, who's the football player in UK, who's the stand-up comedian in South Africa, and so on. So that's when internet actually opened our eyes. And, like to a large extent to what Ish actually said, Thoothukudi, Tirunelveli, Madurai, and, like all these people from, like tier 2 cities, we've all made it abroad to actually do a lot of things. And then after that, like fast forward, like we wanted to actually know nationalization was very pride, like India and things like that. You wanted to actually be very aware of, like North India and, like Ahmed Takin, Amir Khan and Shah Rukh Khan and others were actually there. Today, in today's world, what made it abroad to actually do a lot of things. And then after that, like fast forward, local stand-up comedian who's actually there, who is actually locally able to actually perform and sing and so on. So Motamadi boys, like all of those small talents that you actually have inside your home is what you want to actually go and understand. So in a way, like we've all realized that, like 60% of your time is actually spent in your neighborhood, at your home, or your workplace, or your place of study, and so on. There you want to actually get connected. You spend a lot of time there, so you want to know events around the place. You want to actually know people who are living there. You want to know, is there a community that's actually there, basketball community, or even a tech community where you can go and engage with them, and so on. So from that perspective, like information and trying to actually get it more relevant to you rather than actually trying to look at everything else outside. So there's a shift in people pattern and behavior which is actually there in this, like vast information age. We're not trying to actually replace or anything like that, but, like if you really think about it, how tech is actually going to actually expose all of these small things that are there. So the events that are going on, those people who are there and what offerings are actually there and so on is what, will be more relevant and more interesting to people. And that's what we're actually seeing today as well with the number of people on what they search for in our app and so on.
That's pretty cool. Viveka, do you have something to say?
Yes, I also wanted to add something for what Gayatri is doing, right? One thing when trying to know what's happening local, more so for people who live abroad, even you told me yesterday that you're here too. Your mom is here, my parents are here, right? Aging population is becoming, it's going to be more than younger generation. But I think that, how can we make use of the younger generation to actually take care of the aging population, which is not living with us? So when I even, like on my phone, I follow NDTV and Hindu, right? And then I choose Madurai and in both to see what's happening there while I'm not in Madurai. More so because to see how it is affecting my parents. Whatever is happening is actually affecting my parents who are living here, right? So I think with regards to that, whatever Kinhood is trying to do to make use of the younger population, to take care of the aging population is something that I think that's really very good. Yeah, and I think you should do more so, not just in terms of aggregating news, but also how to deliver something very faster, like which opens a new Q-commerce or a e-commerce, something like that.
That's a fantastic segue into this whole concept of micro-market economics, right? When I see something in the developed economies like US and Europe, this is not happening there. There is no local, delivery system. In fact, the town I live in, there is no food after 10 p.m. Everything shuts down. And Uber Eats last delivery is 10 p.m. And then you come to India, like you guys are eating at 2 a.m. in the morning, the best food. There are good and bad things about it, right? The city never sleeps in Chennai and Mumbai. And now I see that in Madurai and Tirunelveli, which is even more amazing. There is life after that, right? So the whole local economy is only going to supercharge with technology. So my first question, Mr. Ravanan, is, you guys are in every nook and corner, trying to carry the news, but also you're trying to market something to people. How has your digital marketing changed in the last 2-3 years, and how do you see the next 2 years with AI and other stuff in terms of driving that local economic growth? Do you guys even think like that? Because everyone who comes to a news media not just comes there because they're reading something, but they're also buying something at some point, right? You're targeting that audience, and that drives economic growth for that city. How do you see that?
Before that, I'll probably put this whole hyperlocal thing in context. The way we look at hyperlocal from the content space is hyperlocal is equal to vernacular, right? I'm saying back in 1999 when we started our journey, probably we were trying to raise money, Indian language / vernacular, Indic language is not sexy enough. It is not very attractive enough to even raise money because it is considered Tier 2, Tier 3, largely driven by English and to some extent Hindi. I think with the advent of technology, a lot of digitization, I think this whole ecosystem has changed. And once this ecosystem has changed, we realized that India is not one country. It's a million Bharats. The whole VC lingo of million Bharats, right? And Tamil Nadu itself is not just one state because there's so much of heterogeneity, unlike the US. Probably there's one language that entire US speaks, right? We speak 1,622 dialects in India, where Tamil itself is having probably 32 slangs, 32 ways of, speaking, right? So since our journey started with this whole hyperlocal concepts, we've been looking at this hyper-personalization very closely from day one, right? It started off with language, but then as we progressed over a period of time, consumer behavior also started getting more, granular, right? And since we work on a lot of data, right, we try to match consumption with the propensity or intention to purchase a particular product, right? So if you look at our personalization layer, doesn't just work on our content serving engine, it also works on our ad engine. And interestingly, the hyperlocal ad market works very differently from your overall digital market. Right? Very different. As of last year, I think digital market is scaled to hit around 50,000, 60,000 crores, right? Of which I think now hyperlocal advertising is 30-40% now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a sizable amount of number. Like you said, right? There are local vendors who like to advertise. The whole SMB business, while it's long tail, but it's massive.
That's amazing. We're a little bit running behind schedule, and we have something more exciting that is going to happen now. I'll tee it up and then pass it around to the organizers to explain what it is. Gayatri's team has been partnering with, IT&T and, driving a lot of innovation in this community. As a part of that, they've evaluated about 50 plus startups or even more, and kind of distilled that into 25 startups that most of you are here somewhere. Raise your hand who are all part of that startup community.
No. This is the Kinnovate Hackathon.
The Kinnovate Hackathon. Wow, that's amazing. I spent some time with some of you in the front. Congratulations to being here. And then the 25, we have 5 exciting winners we're going to announce. And we have our favorite IT minister, Dr. Tyagarajan, who's here. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I will have him to the stage and be part of us. Or maybe Hari, why don't you tee it up, and then Dr. Tyagarajan PTR can announce it.
Great. Quickly, to give you context, in line with the theme of Inform, Inspire, Innovate, we had this Kinnovate Hackathon Challenge for all college students in Chennai in partnership with the Umagine TN team. We had 300 plus registrations, 20 plus colleges, 100 plus entries. We had 5 different tracks to basically evaluate these students. We gave them 48 hours. News, user behavior, sentiment analysis, current moderation. All of you who've taken part in this contest, congrats, all the best. We had 25 finalists. So from these 25 finalists, we have the top 5. We'll quickly go on to that and we'll invite PTR sir. So we'll start off with the special mention 2, which is the 5th team. This is a team from Chennai Institute of Technology. The track being content moderation. The team name Phoenix. Guys, give a very quick note on your project.
So, hello everyone, I'm Shwetsa Ashwin from Chennai Institute of Technology, and we created a project called Lint Toxic, which basically linting the toxicity out of content. So we use some AI models to detect NSFW content, harmful content and toxic content and filter it out. And we also used a system and a way to detect false information to give more truthful and accurate information to the audience. So that's a basic outline of what our project is.
And I would like to add something. Since Kin is actually a local load app, we have also integrated support for Tanglish and other mixed code languages, and we are planning on more support for other Indian languages such as Malayalam, Telugu, Kannada, for having a seamless experience for content moderation. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Thank you, team. Right. So, team number 4. This is again from Chennai Institute of Technology. It's called What Warriors. They worked on the track called Sentiment Analysis.
So actually we worked on sentiment analysis project. It is nothing but recently we have seen like in a particular post there will be many comments which may be positive or negative. What we did was we trained an AI model to detect whether a particular comment is positive or negative, and we can get the feedback like how that sentiment of that particular post was. And also we integrated many language support like Tamil, Telugu, whatever language may the comment be, it will translate it in English and it will detect the sentiments of the comment.
Thank you, guys. Well, moving on, the stakes get a bit higher. Team 3 is from Venkateshwara College of Engineering. Tech Easers. They worked on a project called User Behavior Analysis. A quick intro with a one-liner.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay Aditya, this is Akil Ahmed, and that's Devesh. We're from Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering. We worked on user behavior analysis. Like they talked about, we are trying to build a content profile and a social profile of a user using graph networks and machine learning models, unsupervised learning, and we built an LLM layer on top of it using generative AI in order to build a comprehensive dashboard for user behavior analysis. I would like to thank Gayatri ma'am for organizing this, and sir, thank you everyone.
Cash prize worth 25K. Congrats, guys. The second prize is from RMK College of Engineering. The team is called Youth Tech. They worked on engagement and rewards.
Hello, we are Team Youth Tech from RMK Engineering College, and we worked on engagement and rewards platform PS, and we first understood that the problem was user retention, and that hardly 10% of the people who download the application are using it actively. So after understanding this, we thought how we could increase the user base, and for that we conducted many surveys, and we understood where incentivization was needed. And to bring upon real world changes and incentivization, we created a feature for donating points and gaining points through quizzes within the app. And that's how we try to innovate and provide a solution to the problem. So, thank you.
Good work, guys. A cash prize of 50K. Right. So, the first prize, again from RMK Engineering College. The team is called Navina Tamilar. They worked on a track called News Information. Congrats, guys.
Our application named Know Your News, shortly KIN, it's to symbolize we are in the same track. And the application comes with the features for a children's page, and it's a news aggregation application and customization. We have used artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithm for personalization by using each click and the likes. And it comes with features for children and for exam preparations and for events and for old age peoples also. And saving feature also is available. You can access the news in offline.
Yeah, the main thing we have did is we categorize our audience as children and focus on them for giving children specific news. And for old people, they won't have the idea of reading the news. So we provided a feature to listen the news like FM radio. They can get the live news as it comes. And then we also given the feature of preparation page, which aggregates news related to the respective competitive exams. The main feature we have added in it is we can generate questions out of that news. This all within this.
Good work, guys.
So we also added events page so that we can, anyone with an organization can add an event, announce it publicly, and categorize it whether it is weekly, yearly, so that. Thank you.
Cash prize was 1 lakh. Congrats, guys. All the other teams, after this session, you can collect your certificates from the organizing team. Right. We'd like to thank ICT Academy, IT&T team for helping us organize this. Now I'd like to share the mic to PTR sir for a few encouraging words.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed much of the session, but I'm very happy to be here to give away these prizes. I'm informed that we're going to try and work through IT&T to get internships for all the winners of these awards with startups. So I think that'll be a wonderful thing. But I think even more, I've now had the experience of attending a few of these hackathons, and it's incredible to me the kind of new thinking that young people bring. I remember I was young once, and I used to think outside the box a lot. So especially in this age of rapid evolution of technology and new kinds of problems which many of us cannot relate to because, many of us prior to the social media era, prior to the ubiquitous living on your cell phone era, I think many aspects like those highlighted today, sentiment analysis, content screening or automated screening, filtering and selection, all of these, I think there's a lot more to be done. And so one of the things we've been talking about actually is for next year's Umagine, for 26, to have a year-long event taking the best aspects of all the different hackathons we've seen across all the colleges and the youth of the state and work towards a separate kind of youth event in this during Umagine. Next year we've taken both arenas, both this one and the next one. And I think we'd like to bring a few thousand students in, having gone through a process of hackathon for a whole year. There's so many problems that need to be solved. Even in the Smart India hackathon, I noticed that many governments had given their problems. And I say this very often, the complexity of society, the scale of society has changed dramatically, and most governments have not adapted adequately around the world. I'm not talking about politics now, I'm just talking about administration and governance. And so a lot of governments can actually use a lot of new ideas. So I think some combination of commercial plus social and public benefit. We'll run a year-long hackathon and hope we get brilliant people like those we saw here today to work on problems both in terms of economic impact but also societal improvement. So this is a wonderful start. Thank you to Kin, thank you to IT&T, thank you to the panel here, and we hope to do a lot more of it in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would have Gayatri, our CEO, address the gathering.
Hi, a couple of quick words. So thank you, Minister, for gracing this occasion. So I'd like to actually say a little more about Umagine and the effort that, the IT Ministry, the ITNT, and the ICTA have actually done. So just as you guys have a small stage this year to actually do this hackathon, thanks, Minister, to actually say that, he'll take it far wider across the state. Last year, I had the opportunity to launch KIN in the innovation arena. So I had a tech launch that was there. So although I'm a media company, we're still a tech company as well. So it's nice to see the IT Ministry supporting not just, startups, but also extending their support to students as well. So it's like a journey that we all have in terms of taking hoops to become, student creators, and then, startups, and then trying to actually move on to become big industrialists. So I'd really like to actually thank you for the opportunity, sir. So thanks a lot. Thanks. Guys, sorry about the interruption. So we had to actually do the price distribution so that, the minister could actually be around for that. I'd request all the panelists that we stay back so we can complete the panel, because there's a lot more that we wanted to actually talk about in terms of technology and how tech is actually enabling societies to actually grow. Particularly in Tamil Nadu, there's a lot of changes that's happening. So we can just talk about it and complete the panel. Thanks.
Thank you, Gayatri. We have some extra mics. The best use of our time probably is to you can ask some questions for the panelists, so it'll save my time.
I think that would be
so
good.
I'm going to pass the mic to start with some questions from our audience.
Hi, this one's for you guys. See, so this is listening to...
Can you hold the mic close so we can hear?
Okay, I'm not loud. Okay. So this one's for you. From what I've heard from the panelists, and especially your thought behind KIN, it's almost like coming back to roots. So coming back to roots, is that a challenge, or coming back to a familiar turf? Is that making it easy?
Coming back to the roots. I think the question was that, is coming back to the roots, because I've lived outside India for 25 years. So the question is coming back to the place where I belong, is it easier or tougher? I'd like to actually say that, it's a bit of both. I think it's more easy because, culturally, you're actually still very connected to this place. And as each of us have actually been trying to say that, trying to, I can't remember the phrase that, the Hindi phrase that you actually use. Something about miti, yeah. Yeah, so that is what, attracts and draws you back. The only change is that, when you come back, there is a lot of change that's actually happened. So technology and everything has actually transformed. So today when I actually look at the same Besanagar, or when I'm looking at Ananagar, I'm looking at it through the digital eyes in terms of, how things have actually cracked and so on. So trying to actually come back has been easy. Culturally, I think, there's a lot of changes that's actually happened, and we still have a long way to go. But home is home at the end of the day, so it's much more easier to actually come back. Oh, from a business perspective. From a business perspective, I think India, Ish actually brought up this topic earlier. He was talking about cell phones in the US and the communication patterns that are there. Infrastructure, although, they had discovered telecom and telephones earlier, the technologies that you actually have here are very different. 10, 15 years ago when in New Jersey, when Path was the only thing that was there was only one Hyatt there and the place was completely empty. So in my Credit Suisse office, if I had to make a call, I used to actually come outside, stand outside the building and actually speak to them. And I used to laugh at them to say that, this is what's actually happening in the US, but, like in India, when I'm going from Chennai to Tirunelveli on a car, I never lose my, 3G connection at that time. So I used to actually say that. So from a tech perspective, I think the infrastructure in India and in every Asian country is actually much better than the Western world, and it's actually improving. And today, I think there's 1 billion plus smartphone users in India itself. So you can see that the time is actually right for people to actually embrace technology, embrace digitization, get more familiar with it, and so on. So from that perspective, it's actually been, very different. Doing business in India, if somebody says that you're a woman entrepreneur and you can't actually do that, I don't believe that. Every country has its own challenges. Women entrepreneurship is, it's not a big thing. You just have to actually plow along and actually do that. If you're able to actually work in an investment bank with, 50 other men who are actually dominating traders and you're actually having to sit with them, I think coming back home and working in your own place and trying to move forward is much, much easier. You just have to have a positive outlook and just move on. So I think India is still a very, very nice place, thriving place. Lots of opportunities for people to actually move forward. And it's the outlook that you actually have to start as an entrepreneur and actually move on.
Let me also try and answer the question commercially, right? So when I say Mitti Ka Khushbu also means that when the pandemic happened, a lot of people got introduced to the digital